with this, I would like to also give a reminder that next week we are going to Budapest on the 16th of September, and we will be seeing you at the Ritz-Carlton for the 7th edition of the Central and Eastern European Gaming Conference. And with that, I would like to introduce the next session. I will be joined by Mattia Busuttil Murphy from PressEnter Group. Hi, Mattia. It's nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to see you all.
All right. So in this session, we are going to discuss the session is actually called Walking a Different Path, which is focusing mostly on why some of the companies have not ventured into the gold rush of running to the US, and while the majority of the gaming companies have their sights firmly fixed on the US market, some have instead decided to remain focused on Europe, which is a great strategy. While Europe might not generate the same headlines as the US does now, it remains a thriving market with plenty of untapped potential, as you heard it here on the earlier session. So Mattia and his company are walking a different path from the other companies, and they see some big opportunities in here. So, Mattia, is the US market all it is grabbed up to be?
I would say, I have to say yes and no. Obviously, okay. I do believe that the US is going to be an insanely crazy market. Yeah. I mean, they've created a significant domino effect from one state regulating to the next one to the next one. So from a regulated perspective, as a regulated entity, you have huge potential to go in, take market share, acquire new customers. And I think also there's the advantage that experienced operators that have a very top, a tier one product, have the ability to go in and take market share very quickly. So also the betting strategy is very, very different in sort of America. So it's important to ensure that you can localize your product. But if you get it right, there's huge opportunity. But at the same time as well, you are going in to compete with essentially big US hedge funds, which fund the likes of huge American entities that are willing to bleed for 3, 4, 5 years to take market share. So it is an extremely competitive market. So it depends sort of how deep are your pockets and how important is the US market to your organization. So I think that would be my answer to that question.
Exactly. The US companies usually have this strategy of throwing money at it until it becomes a success. I also wanted to ask to give a short introduction about yourself and PressEnter Group.
Of course. So as I said, my name is Mattia Busuttil. I'm the commercial director at PressEnter Group. My main responsibilities for the organization are handling sort of our commercial growth across a number of markets, along with one of our other commercial directors for the LATAM region. On top of that, also responsible for our central departments. So that's sort of my day-to-day operation with PressEnter Group. As an organization, we basically have been around since 2018. We currently have 6 brands with a very nice pipeline of essentially a proper, unique sportsbook, which we're hoping to launch very, very soon. We have actually just launched sportsbook across one of our brands. So that was a huge milestone for a casino-first organization to introduce a new product. So that happened earlier this year. And then we are in line to launch roughly around another 3 brands in the coming few months. And then the aim is just to continue to keep growing, take our market share where we can, and focus on Europe, as why we're here today to discuss.
Exactly. So, yeah, which leads me to the question. Why have you opted to not secure a license to enter the market at this moment?
When it comes to the US, I think it's partly we've been on a growth journey as an organization. So if we look back 3 years ago, since then we've quadrupled our workforce. So we're growing. We went through a very big growth phase, and it's sort of very important that we stick with our vision. And our vision was always to focus on Europe and Latin America. And I think if we just had to throw the US into the mix, we could sort of really offset the good momentum that we have. But doesn't mean something that the US is not of interest. I think it's something which everybody's talking about, whether you're an affiliate or a supplier or an operator. So there definitely is interest in the US.
Yeah, we keep we also have a series of meetups on Gaming Americas where we also cover the North American region, Latin American region, and the demand is huge over there, and there is also a high number of visitors when it comes to the news we are spreading about that region. So yeah, you must believe that Europe offers a bigger opportunity to drive growth at the moment, right?
We do actually, and I think one of our most recent launches is with acquiring a Romanian license. So we've actually just launched our Romanian license with Nitro Casino. We're still new to the market, but fortunately we have a great team that are picking up some real momentum. So it's quite exciting for us to enter a regulated market in Europe, start seeing that we're able to start building market share slowly. And just continue to build that product for the local market. So with that being said, Europe is still highly of interest to us. You know, I mean, our strategy can be maybe a bit different as well at times. I think sometimes if you take the likes of a single household name, take Bet365, when you drive one brand, you're talking one message. We have multiple brands, multiple products. So our strategy has to be different. And that comes down to the way we optimize our marketing efficiency, sort of which brands are we going to position in which markets. So the strategy is a bit different to being a single brand as well.
Okay. So, and where do you see the biggest opportunities at the moment? Europe.
I think Romania is fantastic. It's such an interesting market. Don't get me wrong, the increased taxes in the last couple of months has not been extremely favorable, but we also do understand it. But I also believe that regulated markets do actually create a level playing field. And that's also important. But what's very important on the flip side when you are talking about locally licensed markets is how the regulator can create a fair environment without having to push users to the black market. So, and that's very important. But I think Romania do a very good job of sort of deterring customers to go towards the black market. So I think at the moment we see really, really good traction, which we're sort of very favorable about. So we just want to keep growing this market at the moment for us.
I think in the audience here in Zoom, there is one person who is happy to hear that. One of the former regulators who actually created this market, or that I think she's still online. So how do you plan to drive growth in these markets, like Romania, for instance?
So obviously Romania now, there's a number of new little changes in the laws where it comes with advertising taxes and things like that. So it's really important about how you're clever about it while still protecting customers. So for us, there's also a good advantage when you do have a bit of a saturated market being a new brand. There is the excitement to go and try a new brand. So I think for the people who go through the effort of acquiring the license, going through all the product enhancements and things like that, you do have a step in the door. But it's also important to be able to deliver a good product, whether that's your KYC journey to your customer service, the actual offering that you're able to do. And then it's also the ability from an operator side to also make that very profitable. So I would say Romania, that is our main focus, being very kind of offering a fully enhanced product, ensuring that our users do enjoy what we're being able to offer to them. It's also important to take feedback from the actual market itself. I mean, just because you just enter the market, you think you know things and you learn on the go, but it's how quickly you learn, how quickly you adapt is sort of what makes you stand out.
Yeah, which leads me to, on the 25th of August, we had the Gaming America's Q3 meetup, and we had a session called The Art of Retention. And like you said, like entering a new market is exciting for everyone. And you have, of course, welcome bonuses and stuff like that. But are you also focusing on a longer period and also create retention? Because I know for certain that some of the brands that are in Romania are not focusing on that. They only do the welcome bonus. Then they probably have some sort of advertisement for reloads, but they don't actually create that loyalty towards the brand. Because like you said, once a new brand enters the market, they can go to that brand and forget about the brand that we're loyal to. So do you plan to have also a strategy to have a loyal customer base? Yeah, we cannot hear. Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, apologies. That's my little daughter running around the house. It's public
no
holiday.
No worries.
Being home with the little one. I think ultimately when it comes to sort of driving growth as well, it's all about having the fundamentals. I mean, good retention, a good game selection, good customer service. You don't need to have great, but if you have good all around, you're at least deemed for a good chance of being successful. Retention today is probably way more important as well, because it actually is cheaper to retain a customer than acquire one.
So it's sustainable for the business. Yeah?
Correct. And on top of that, it allows you to sort of really understand your player base. Some of the biggest things I've seen over the years is where, let's say you take an example of a campaign with 3 offers, and the gaps are so big. So you immediately put people into sort of buckets, and there's no way for that customer to ever get to the next level. So it's important to understand how much more do they need to sort of be able to nurture them to that next level, engage the brand in a different way, create a stronger lifetime value. And that's generally with good data. Data is king. It's all well and good collecting it, but if you don't harvest it and use it in the correct manner, it's pretty useless then.
All right. So yeah, one more thing, that when we launched in 2015, there was not that many activities around, but certainly that was a start in Eastern and Central Europe with the market opening and then licensing. And now we can call them already maturing markets, right? So is it tougher to make progress in an existing market that is in an entirely versus an entirely new market such as the US?
This is probably another yes and no answer, because it all comes down to strategy and also how much money you're willing to throw at the market. You know what I mean? It's ultimately when entering a new market or entering an existing market, your one goal is to take market share. Market share comes as a cost. So it's if you take the likes of America, going into one of the new states over there, and you've got BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings throwing 20, 30, 40, 50 million on TV alone. You know what I mean? That is a very US Hollywood-esque sort of strategy where you go in and just buy market share on brand. Where Europe is a bit different. You do have big operators who have over the years built brand, but it takes a lot longer, and it is also about building profitability over time. So ultimately, we are in the business of making money as well. So you need to find the right balance of how do you take market share, how long are you willing to sort of maybe bleed while you build that market share, and then do you have the correct strategy and tools in order to recoup that investment as quickly as possible. So yeah, I think it's hard in both instances, whether you're entering a new market or you're entering a regulated market. I think generally, if you're entering a saturated market with a new product, innovation probably will allow you to break that space a lot easier, as well as sort of if you're able to tailor your brand for the right demographic. You know what I mean? Today, if you look back 4 or 5 years ago, you'd be looking at the split of mobile gaming versus desktop gaming would be very different to what it is today. Mobile penetration is very different today. So if you're able to really understand the product that you're delivering, are you also using a native app? All these little tools are going to be the way that you have the ability to go in and take market share. Are you using the correct marketing channels? Today, we can see the likes of big influencer marketing coming on board, even celebrities. I think the US has the perfect example of the likes of Jamie Foxx being the brand ambassador for MGM Bet. If you look at also Canada, you've got Aaron Paul and Bet365. So you can see that the strategy is very different towards that you might see in Europe. Right. So I think either of them can be quite challenging, but also to the benefit of each organization.
Yeah, and coming back for retention strategies, can retention strategies and tactics be used to stand out from the rivals, maybe? And if so, can you give some example about this?
Yes, of course. I think loyalty is really crucial today, and it's how you have the ability to go and develop that loyalty, and it's not just your let's say your sort of standard gamification, level 1, level 2, level 3, that comes with the ability to understand, does the user like to play Book of Dead versus maybe a pragmatic play game? And if yes, then sort of should we actually be ensuring that we deliver the correct game to the right user? So it's the eyes in the detail. So I think if you're able to really identify what the user wants to experience while you're on site, having a good understanding of time on site, how do you keep the user on there longer, but also in a safer manner as well? So I think these are where, in our opinion, and sort of within our organization, is what we like to focus on.
Okay. So coming back to the US, is the US market one that you plan to target at some point in time? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
I could probably answer both those questions. I'd say I think the US will always be of interest. There are a lot more states to regulate, so I think they've just opened a very new journey for a number of operators to go in over time. And I think just because you've got the top 5 or top 10 in the US, it doesn't mean that they're going to go in and take market share in every state. I mean, if you, with the right strategy and the right team and the right product, everyone still can go and take a piece of the pie. So I think the US will always be something that we would keep on the horizons, but not for now. And that goes back to your first question. We are predominantly focused on Europe and Latin America. LATAM is a big focus for us as an organization. So I think for now, we will have our vision. We want to sort of focus on that, achieve our goals. And then as we continue to roll out and plan more things, maybe the US comes back into focus for us.
So what's next in Europe for 2022, maybe 2023 in your plans?
For now, there is a focus for launching new brands. So it's more of a brand focus at the moment. It's trying to go in and sort of launch our new flagship sportsbook brand. So we want to go in across MGA service markets as well as some local licenses. And then from there, it's sort of really build that single brand entity where people can kind of walk around and remember XLBet, our new brand. So this is one of our focuses. I think over time, when we see more traction, we might continue to scale and grow and increase our local licenses in Europe. But for now, we're looking at Romania, MGA service markets from European perspective. 2023 is more looking towards LATAM from an organization perspective.
Okay, so I think Jörg will be disappointed that you are not going to Germany.
Germany is a challenge. So in one of my previous organizations, I worked in it, and it's not an easy market. I personally think that the regulation is favored for some of the land-based operators, but I also believe that it is a much safer space, which I think they've done a good job. It has become a challenging one, but Germany is not on our horizons for the time being.
All right. So it was a pleasure to talk to you today. It was really refreshing. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The next quarterly meetup is on the 11th of November. Make sure to just watch for the notification, because we will be sending you a reminder. And for all of us who are attending next week's conference in Budapest, see you there. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Mattia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Speak soon.